Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an object show fan that has barely watched any object shows. We have to fix that. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome in to Object Catchup, the series where we discuss object show episodes right after watching them. Whether they are new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. And today, it's going to be a little bit of a mini episode. I can't lie. It's not going to be very long. In fact, there's a possibility that it technically counts as a special because currently on the plan, depending on how long it takes, I might do something else. But I was very busy today, so I couldn't exactly do much. We are going to be watching Zoroging's Object Dissension, which lately has turned into ODA, which has released its second episode 5 days ago. However, to start, we need to, of course, watch it all the way from the beginning, from the first season, starting with Object Dissension 1, which is titled Scream for Ice Cream. Before we get to that, thank you to any showrunner who has watched the episodes in the past few days. You know, we've had people comment from the Dips crew, from the creator of Lost, the creator of BFPR, the creator of Object Happiness, just tons of people. And with that, we also hit 70 subscribers a little while ago. So absolutely thanks to everybody. And I'll be trying to get this episode out today, regardless of the fact that it is very much so in the evening right now when I usually record in the morning. But we are going to be getting it out there. Let's start off here with Object Dissension 1, Scream for Ice Cream. Let's go. Okay, 30-second episode, but you can already see the bubblings of something interesting here. You know, just the way that the characters are being animated here and the way that they're just moving their limbs and stuff. You can already see that there's a degree of quality that's sort of being maybe intentionally put off a little bit to create a joke fast show. Just the way that the host pops into existence here in the intro, you know, like something's up here, something's of high quality, even if the challenge takes 5 seconds, and then we get everybody dancing to the intro theme. Artifacty, I guess, might be. I have no idea who's gonna get eliminated here. I mean, like, I don't know, but as a joke, little start, it's pretty solid. Of course, I prefer challenges that last longer than 3 seconds, but you know, if it's gonna take 3 seconds, it's gonna take 30 seconds. Let's keep it moving. Let's see how the show evolves through time. In episode 2, I just watched episode 2. Okay, I can't lie, this music is gonna get in my brain. I can't lie. We're playing it so much, this intro music and the intro, the voting theme, the ever seen. We're gonna start having this be in my brain. I don't know if I'm a big fan of that. But yeah, the way that this show spends its time is crazy because we spend 10 seconds looking at Lamp Fella dance, and then the intro itself lasts like 20 seconds, only for the challenge to last 10 this time. That's why the episode's, you know, 1 minute instead of 30 seconds. The scream from the little sample cup is, I mean, it's pretty loud. It's not that much of a scream. It's more of a oh, but like I see it. I get it. I get it. And I do like the host. Am I getting animatic battle vibes from them? I'm absolutely am in the way that they pop into existence here. And yeah, just the way that they wobble around definitely gives me vibes of that. But yeah, goodbye, Squishy. You are a dead. Let's keep it moving. You know, these episodes, they're short, so they're not too much to discuss on them. Episode 3, Worst Day of Stopwatch's Life. Yeah, watch episode 3. How are we gonna have recommended characters? But in a show that lasts 50 seconds. Yeah, like all of them get one frame on screen. That's actually crazy. So the elimination, who gets out? Stopwatch gets out. You know, I'm pretty surprised the Stopwatch got out. Because to be honest, I usually thought the people vote based on design, and I thought Stopwatch's design is pretty good, actually. So I'm surprised by that for sure. And then Stopwatch decides to pull the multiplication gambit, which I don't know how they're doing that. But then the challenge is to stop him, and Artifacty ends up popping into existence and stopping them, and then pushing them all the way back, as I would expect. You know, I guess that was my prediction as soon as I saw the challenge. Who can stop the multiplicating man? It's probably the Artifact. That's like this weird being. So that makes sense. The recommended characters, to be fair to them, they're drawn quite nicely. I like the one that's just one of them is just a dot. One of them is the letter Q. One of them is a USB. Like there's some good stuff going on here, but yeah, who's getting eliminated? I don't know. I haven't mentioned like half of these characters yet because they just don't really speak. Like mainly who's awkward. There's the screwdriver who is like friends with the grabber thing, and the grabber thing's pretty good. The lamp is okay. Like there's not too much to these characters yet because I've only seen like what 30 seconds with any of them. So yeah, episode 4, D.G.M. Okay, I have no idea what just happened there. So, apparently eliminated was Lamp, apparently. I mean, we don't get to actually see a voting, but apparently got eliminated, both for probably being eliminated and also for annoying them. So goodbye, Lamp. Then we have the other fellas. Apparently the grabber fella gets interrupted and it's like a problem, so that's fun. Um, then the challenge ends up being to cook. So, cooking is being done. There's this like cup thing. It looks like Kane's cup, where the sample cup has, which is gonna give them as food. It's called the so that's all right. Meanwhile, yeah, the screwdriver ends up falling into a conveniently placed hole on the ground where this land that's all white and void and there's nothing ever there. Well, there was something there, unfortunately. Rainbow steak gets added on by Melee somehow. And then, yeah, we have our guests, which are Super and the Piggy Pug. And then they start reviewing. So the first one is from Artifact, which is made a meal silently. They end up winning, if I'm not mistaken, yet again. So Artifact, sort of just coasting by, sort of under the radar, not really doing much, but managing to get through these damn challenges. So good job. Then the screwdriver isn't even there. Then Grabber, which continues to get interrupted, ends up throwing the ice cream at them. And yeah, doesn't end up getting a new score. I mean, either way, the host didn't like it anyways, so. And they're the ones who ate it, so it doesn't seem like it was going to get too much. But then the thing is, the other guy's just dead, so they just don't end up judging like the last 3 dishes. So they all just lose by default. I mean, to be fair, like, yeah, but yet again, the host doesn't even do it anyway. Like, they don't even like any of the dishes anyways. The Super likes most of them, actually, but in general, yeah, Artifact, he got a W there simply by going first. Usually they say that going last is better in these types of challenges. In this case, it was different. Going first was the way to go, so fair enough. Who's gonna get up for elimination? I, I don't really know. I'm gonna guess Grabber. I I don't know. Maybe it could be the screwdriver because they're down there in the hole. I don't even know what showed up next to them. It's just like a squiggle. It's like a sick man, maybe. Like the fella that showed up in one of the outros, right, of like episode 1. So that could be important. I don't know. Let's find out episode 5. I said D butter. All right, I just watched episode 5. I said day butter. Now, so eliminated ended up being Melee, which fair enough. I guess you got eliminated. Now, I guess they made the bad meal. So they get out. Now we have our debuters, which there are so many of them. Like, the thing about debuters is that it is hard to like choose debuter. There's only one of them join because that is tough. Like with this many people, that is tough. Um, they get a very uneven amount of screen time depending on the jokes they have. Some of them go by so fast that I didn't even notice that they're there. But there is a lot of interesting little characters here. I can't lie, but like. I mean, yeah, there's so many guys going on here. Like the fact that the cannon is shot ends up hitting the next character, grape juice. That's all fun. Um, but there's some interesting ideas here. Who would I predict to be a top 3 out of this pile? Okay, personally, I would have probably voted like analysis board because I like it. Because I love characters that are multiple characters. I think that's always really entertaining. Maybe Lunchbox because thought that was cute. Do Not Disturb sounded pretty interesting. They have a good design, and maybe Comma because I like the idea. Who is actually rejoining though? I could not be telling you like one bit. Like I don't know, bro. Hmm. Let's say Subspace Trip Mine is my prediction. My prediction for top 3 would be Subspace Trip Mine because it's a joke and it's funny. The first one, which I forgot the name of, it was like Mystery Shake because they got the most screen time and were first. And then Comma because I think that's interesting and that's kind of fun. So I predict that to be the top 3. But I don't know. I have no idea. So I guess we'll have to find out in episode 6. I don't know what's going on in the ending, by the way. There's like this fella that definitely looks like a stick figure, and like you can't touch them. I mean, they don't touch them at least. There's the freaking light from where they arrive, from when they fell down, and the words "a joke" pops up. I don't know what that. Yeah, I don't know what any of that means, to be honest, but it looks like stuff might be happening, to be honest. I guess we'll have to find out later. What is the joke? A joke? Is the show? I mean, it's a joke show. Realistically, right? You could say it's a joke show, but I think it starts turning into a non-joke show. So, I don't know. Maybe. All right, let's keep it moving. Object Dissension 6, Front. All right, so that was episode 6. We get a pretty detailed set of voting results here for the debuters, which I find pretty interesting usually. We get to see, yeah, no, Artifact, I don't think they speak. I don't even know what's going on with them. To be honest, Artifact, the fact Artifact is still here absolutely shooks me because, like, they have just sort of coasted by surviving, despite the fact that there has not even really been an attempt at writing a character for them, really. Like, they just sort of existed. They've done the challenges, right? Like, in terms of, like, they've done a thing, but they've not really done anything else over than that. So I'm kind of surprised by that, the fact that they're still around. They're probably getting eliminated very, very soon. But now it's time for the rejoiners. So, my predicted top 3 was relatively close to correct. They all got within the final 5, if I'm not mistaken. But unfortunately, Mystery just got 5th, and then ended up at being 3rd place. Was what the hell was it? Was the Tomatoey Junior. So I didn't predict that, to be fair, but I predicted that Commerce Subspace Trip Mine were gonna be within the top 2. Well, within the top 3, I predicted them, but unfortunately, Subspace Trip Mine does end up joining over Comma. It does keep the little thing alive of last person to show up in the rejoiner poll does tend to usually get in. To be fair to Subspace Trip Mine, they were one of the more interesting ones in the debuter options. However, being here in the debuter options as last always gives you an advantage. But to be fair to them, they were pretty interesting. And apparently, according to the description, they got very close. They got 38 votes compared to no, they got 48 votes compared to Comma's 45 votes, which it's a very small gap. So I got about 3 actually. So good job, Trip Mine on rejoining. Common nearly clutched up. Subspace Trip Mine also goes on to win the challenge, which is to jump. Yeah, these challenges, they're still not exactly the best challenges ever, but good job on doing that. And then the other fellas are up for voting yet again. I'm predicting Artifact gets out, but we're gonna have to find out. Meanwhile, by being automatically eliminated, the screwdriver ends up leaving the hole of doom and joining the elimination lounge area. I mean, it looks like a house, so I'm saying it's a lounge area, but I don't really know what they're doing over there. I guess we're gonna have to, find out in due time. But in general, these episodes, they're so far pretty cool. apparently it's made in 12 hours. So in general, it's like it's pretty fast. They're pretty cool. Um, there is, in my opinion, a little bit of an underappreciation in challenges. I think because like we're doing a show that takes its time on a lot of things and interactions, only to do a challenge that takes 3 seconds. You know, like that's been so many challenges that just been like 1 or 2 seconds. When like you can make challenges that are a lot more interesting than this with the cows that you have. You know, like there's a lot of potential. I hope they utilize it. Episode 7. Why did you look? Cliffhanger ending. Oh no. Alright, that's episode 7. Why did you look? So, we found out the elimination is artifact. Yep, they got voted out. We have over half the votes. That makes sense. That just felt about right, to be honest. The artifact wasn't really an interesting character. They were kind of just surviving because they were winning challenges. Does make them a good competitor, but not an interesting one. So they end up dropping by into the elimination lounge where everybody is there. In fact, even the debuters, which usually they end up in different lounges in most object shows, but in this one, no, they actually get to share the lounge, which is pretty solid. Um, they're just chilling and just having fun. Now, for some reason, we have to stop Shortcake. I don't know what this guy, why this debuter knows about anything, but they have to stop Shortcake. And then Shortcake turns out that is just chilling, hiding out from the rest, and goes look at the pit, the fabled pit where the screwdriver fellow was there before, and just kind of looks in. However, before they can leave, they get grabbed by a hand, and presumably maybe they're going to get pulled back in, or whatever's going to happen, but they've been grabbed, and they can't leave now, so we'll have to see the stick man in there fighting back. But I don't really know. I don't really know what the possible motivations for that would possibly be. Because if you think about it, it's like, but you know, it was supposed to like that a fellow was literally in there and you didn't do anything. So why are you gonna bring someone in there now? Why is Shortcake more interesting? Right? Why is Shortcake? Why do you want Shortcake? Right? So yeah, no idea. Especially because it's Shortcake, not a character which I remember being quite interesting in the debut. I don't. I think they just all end up back in the main run. I don't know why. Like that's something I have no idea about because like it's not the finale. I think yeah, it's literally not the finale. Usually they get brought back for a finale, but it's not the finale. We're still like at least one challenge away from the finale. Like one of them is gonna go to the final two, and the other one's gonna be left. I'm pretending Grabber goes into the final two, but then, like between Sample Cup and Trip Mine, like they're still going to have to do a challenge. So unless the challenge involves the eliminating contestant some way, I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out in episode 8. Calm before the gate. All right, very fast video here. We get to find out the results of the poll. So apparently, it was voted to It's a vote to pass and a vote to eliminate at the same time, which that was not what I was expecting for it to be at all. To be honest, right? I mean, that is shocking, but okay, then we don't even do a challenge or anything. The intro has been shook up. Now it's a BFB mashup, which that's fun considering we have 1 million recommended characters now to sort of live up the world a little bit. So that's a little bit. Yeah, look at the crowd of everybody there. They're pretty cool. The do not disturb sleeping and all that stuff. Um, but then it turns out that Sample Car gets eliminated. Mildly more votes, mildly less votes than Subspace Trip Mine, which I'm surprised. No, I think in a vote to eliminate Subspace Trip Mine gets out, but in this like vote to get in format, I feel like more people voted Subspace Trip Mine. So I'm gonna say that it's a little bit of a scam, but oh well. Then we have a vote to win. Now, I'm sorry for all shows, right? And people in the shows. But like, why are we doing a vote into the finale, then not even doing a challenge, not doing anything, and then doing a vote to win? Like, this is the most obvious result of all time, no? Like, nothing has changed. Like, our perception of these two characters has not changed between the last positive vote and this one. Because there hasn't been a challenge, there hasn't been an anything, right? So, like, how would it change? Like, Grabber is just gonna win. Surely, no? Like, you're just gonna have to win everything. because there's no way. I understand that the sample cup voters, I guess, are gonna need to split up a little bit, but like, there's still two. Like, I don't know, especially because Grabber had a relatively big lead over the rest. Like, it's not gonna be that interesting, you know. Like, I don't, whatever. At the end of the day, the evil demon that might have grabbed the strawberry shortcake is officially free, which means that the screwdriver ends up trying to see what's going on and then gets immediately deleted. So they seem to be officially part of the gang. We're gonna need to find out what's going on with that because we currently don't know. It just all looks mysterious and ooh. In the next episode, blast from the past, literally. Okay, I just watched Object Dissension 9. So, it starts off here with our host fella, which I still haven't caught the name of. I think it's a Zuni or something. Ends up, wanting to review the votes to say that Grabber obviously won the most obvious vote in obviously history. But, they get freaking yeeted by the evil Zuni, the evil. I'm gonna call it if we're calling the host a Zuni. I'm gonna call this guy Evil Zuni, Ezuni. So they are there and being evil and trying to beat him up and whatever. So they're having a little bit of a battle, and they try to battle a little bit, but the evil Zuni is just way, way better at their job. And eventually, while the fella is dying, while Zuni is dying, they try to tell the Grabber, "You won, and your prize is my power." So they have the power now. And they try to fight him, but if the guy who's had the powers this whole time is gonna know, why would the guy who got them 1 second ago know how to win? So they just don't until we get the dumbest thing of all time. So this fella just goes, "Why are you doing this?" And this fella, and Evil Zuni, who happens to speak in the quietest voice of the millennia, ends up saying something along the lines of, "They just left me in the past. I wanted to move on." And then Grabber's inspirational quote, merchant of the century, ends up saying, "Sometimes you can't let things in the past get to you. It drives you insane. It's better to just accept what happens in the past, none of it making things worse for you." Which might be the most generic thing said of all time, especially because we have no context of what's ever happened ever. Like, what do you mean? I'm sorry. By the looks of what I said, this guy was chilling in a hole. So that means that a Zuni ends up sending this guy to live in a dark hole crater for his entire livelihood, or at least for a very long amount of time. So then when he comes back and wants to beat his ass, that doesn't make perfect sense. That feels like the best decision in making that moment. Okay, sure, you can't let things in the past get to you, but you also gotta not, be beaten up like that. We can't do a whole "this is gay guy," things that happen, let it be. Okay, things that happen, but things that just happen need to also have consequences. This isn't like a put people in jail. It's okay when they get out, they won't wanna, revenge or anything. Revenge is bad, boys. Like, not what is that? Like, I understand what the message is. It's a cute message. I just think that it's not the best thing to do there at that moment. Because, like, at least from what we know about Evil Zuni, which is very little, it was honestly a valid crash out. It wasn't that bad. So I don't know if I'm unnecessarily agree here with the message. I mean, I agree with the message. I just don't know if, like, it makes sense in that specific context. So Yeah, Azumi ends up being back, and they all fly off into space. Then the fellas are just chilling. We end up having a new recommended character to replace one of the other ones, and then this other algebraic fella wants to host the show, but no, Azu ends up going like, yo, no, you're not doing that. And then that's the end of the show. It's a cute little show. I feel like it's trying to have itself a story arc while also happening way too fast to have a story arc. You know, like it just we're trying to have a story arc, except there's only like 5 seconds per episode dedicated to it. So there's just not enough time for us to really get to understand anything it's reasoning. And then that ending, in my opinion, was kind of extremely cliche. I can't even lie. So it's alright. I see what we were trying to do here. I think it fails when you overthink it like I am. But if you're just watching it normally, casually, it works. I don't mind it. Sure, why not? Let's move on now to ODA 1A, the latest series, because the video is called Do You Want to Play? Significantly longer at 10 minutes. Let's watch it. Okay, I just watched ODA 1A. Do you want to play? So, this has a good writing. First, okay, I don't know where to begin here. So this has good writing. I can't lie. The writing in this show is quite good. The way that it does jokes is quite nice. The way that this is doing animation is quite nice, especially with some characters like the coin. Is quite nice. The way that, for example, the grapple and Lego brick pop back in as like silhouettes when talking about Grapper, like that. No, well, yeah, when talking about Grabber is like really well animated. And just there's so many interesting things. Or like the fella that's about to get shot out of the cannon when they pop up in the speech bubble. I think that's really cool. And like yet again, when you drop into the hole looks pretty nice. Space in general, the light that's shining. There's just a lot of quite cool things. I can't lie. But we get a bit more info on the character. So the first thing that we find out is why the world is colored. Is because Grabber colored it all using the powers. Because that, felt like the right thing to do. Makes sense. Make the world that you're in a world that exists. So that's good. Then there's also a Light 100 beacon, which exists, which will be important later, which was given and made to Cherry Jr. fella. And then we get to introduce some other characters, which I seem to enjoy. Shortcake, a great VAing on the suffering. It's always a little bit weird to do that, but we see, like in general, we just get more. We are learning more character about these characters from scene to scene. And there's a lot of pretty interesting jokes. Like Ice in a Bowl has this whole thing about being whatever. Grapple wants to be like Grabber because it's pretty much like Grapple but more interesting. It's like a Grapple but better. Lego Brick, which has a fun voice, and all that stuff. There's a club going on, so we know that they're recruiting new members. So they don't recruit Calm, actually. They recruit Shortcake and Ice in a Bowl. Then there is freaking Lunchbox, which I could already tell from the debut video in the first show, but they already give me vibes of adorable. I love them. They're cool. I do also like this film camera. I don't even the EMS is okay. The stopwatch seems relatively unbothered. I don't even know what the walkie-talkie is, but I do like how the walkie-talkie does actually function as a walkie-talkie with like certain like with the other side being able to speak to them through the walkie-talkie. That's actually quite like, while there's been a lot of walkie-talkie characters in a lot of shows, if you actually think about it, that's a spin on it that I'm not seeing very often. Then we've got some other fellas. I think that's like Jerbungo or someone who speaks English. Bread, which dies. I don't know why. I found it absolutely adorable. that the sun talks to the people on the sun. Like, what? You could just talk, yeah, because the sun has a face, but you can just talk to them. Like, they don't talk to them because they get grabbed all out of there. The fact that the sun just tries chatting with the fellas who's happened to drop by is hilarious. I love that concept. That's a great concept. That's a 10 out of 1 million concept. Actually, that's really bad. That's a 1 million out of 10 concept. I said it in reverse. Um, but yeah, then Heartbreaker ends up breaking hearts, and that gets decided to be bad. So they go into the hole, and they get left there. I don't know how they're gonna get out. For some reason, the DVD case speaks in the freaking text to speech voice. But eventually, this gamma light ray from the 100-foot beacon ends up hitting Platinum and DD case, and then Artifacty, and then goes by all the way to Izumi, which ends up getting blinded and dropping down like a meteor. We have the analysis board, which I already like them quite a bit. Financials have 3 of them in mouths, and then there's 2 of them in their eyes. I wonder if they are like their own living creatures as well that just can't speak, because that would make an interesting little connection, but they seem to be asleep or something, or relatively unbothered. Lucky, yeah, is indeed lucky. So eventually we find out that we have um yeah, Izumi ends up being the fallen test, and everybody wants another competition, or at least Screwdriver, because of, the trophy collection. So Izumi's like, yeah, sure, I can do that. I can do that. And then that is indeed what they're gonna be doing, except now we retract the powers from Grabber because, they need to hand over to somebody else. I don't know why it isn't possible for 2 people to have a power. I would have enjoyed seeing Grabber maybe on a more non-contestant position. It would have been cool as like a host. But, oh, well, because the thing about Izumi is Izumi didn't have a co-host. I think Grabber would have been an interesting co-host. It's like maybe power, has mildly less power and everything, but no co-host yet. Apparently they can read minds as well. But oh well, we then have ourselves an intro. The intro is very nice. The intro is very fun. I mean, I missed the song a little bit. I can't lie, I missed the song a little bit from the other one. I kind of got hooked to that song at this rate. But the intro is very teapot, and is very, very, very solid. But then eventually we don't actually get to form teams or do any of the challenge stuff. That's going to be in the next episode. So what do I think of this? I think that this show is cool, but it is making a grave error. I just can't lie. I mean, what is this cast? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 25, 30, 30, 35. Ooh. That's not what you want. You know? Like, that's just not it. Wait, is this actually the... Wait, Brain Roddy? Who is Brain Roddy? That a character? No, wait, that's the recommended characters. So, wait, so that's 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43. That a 42 person cast? Oh my god. Like, this is doing the BFB thing, basically. Like, this is doing BFB in the exact way that it functions, right? The host, everybody who is related to the show in terms of lore ends up joining this, right? So that means that we have every recommended characters and every original character to make a massive cast. Problem is that BFB failed dramatically at doing its job of having a large cast, like it's a 64 person cast was a bad idea. Did you know? It was bad. They're still dealing with the consequences of that today with Teapot. Like, it's not great. And I think that I don't think taking that as inspiration is what you want to do. Like, I don't think taking it as inspiration is good. You gotta take it as a learning opportunity when rather than just doing the same thing. Because if you do the same thing, I'm sorry, right, to ODA, but this, I'm already saying it, would be bound to fail. In my opinion, it would be bound to, because it just isn't good to do these large cast object shows that have high effort to them, and it's just everybody. In a way, I think the smartest thing was like, it's kind of what BFDIA did, right? Because BFDIA gave the option to every single one of the characters to rejoin, right? To join the new season, but then it was like it was a depends thing. Like, not everybody got in. And I understand that you would want to give everybody a chance to get in, but it's too many people. Like, so many people. This show is gonna be, maybe it's gonna work. Maybe it's gonna work in terms of production scale, but the fact that this episode already 1 year ago and ODA 2 just released, like, it really does not strike me with a lot of confidence over whether this is gonna be at nearly the speed required to finish. Now, look, maybe it will. Maybe like I don't at all blame any of like the contents of the episodes and stuff. Like, I really like the writing in this episode. I laughed multiple times. I find a lot of the characters to be interesting or have interesting designs or any of those things. Um, and there's interesting interactions, interesting dynamics going on, right? However, it's just there's so much stuff. There's so many people. It's so hard to see shows like this getting far, but we'll hope for the best. I'm gonna watch 1B and 2 to see what decisions they take, because currently I am extremely concerned over the capabilities of this show to happen at the pace it needs. But I'll trust it for now. I'm gonna watch ODA 1B, which is the longest episode of it yet, through the wire. Let's go. Okay, I have just finished watching ODA 1B through the wire. Now, what a little episode that was. Super long. I mean, a half hour, but it's for good reason. Like, we take our time with things, and that gives us a lot of time to get to meet the cast members here. Like, we're dealing with a pretty omega cast. However, I understand most of these fellows. There's a few which I haven't quite grasped yet, but in general, so I kind of know what's going on. Most of them, I'm getting to connect with the characters through the time that is being given to the show. So I appreciate these longer episodes here at the beginning, because the teams need time for them to gel together and for us to figure out, okay, yeah, this team is this, that team is that, right? So these are being longer episodes definitely makes for a nicer experience to understand. Anyways, firstly, we focus in on this vote. We have this little Azuki monitor which displays the votes, and then we get to see everybody's votes. So apparently, according to these votes, you could vote more than once, I think, which is pretty crazy if true. But I think that might, if you can vote however many times you want, some people might have cheesed it, which means that I don't think these votes are gonna exactly be representative of the total, right? They're not gonna exactly be representative of who is actually a fan favorite, But it ends up that the little platinum a cube ends up being correct, like the space platinum. Yeah, space platinum is what you're called. Ends up winning with 706 votes, which is a very, very high number. So I don't know if anybody actually cheesed the vote, but maybe. I guess we'll have to see. The team making portion starts, and you see it takes a good while for them to form teams, but that's cool. Like, it's relatively chill. Takes takes like 8 minutes, and it's pretty fun. We get to see everybody. We get to properly get reminded of any connections that are making. Like, we get to see TNT and Subspace Trip Mine. They're chilling as sort of the explodey buddies. There's Squishy, which is the whole. The team formed around someone because the others admire them. Basically, you know. that type of team, which does seem to happen pretty often in these types of objects here, where there's like an admirer team. I'm thinking in BFB where there's the losers based on loser. I'm thinking Animatic Battle where there's the team based on the fella. What the hell's they called? I am bad at remembering the names, but it's like Happy Pumpkin Face, I think. No, Happy. It was start with an M. God damn it! Why do I not remember? Hold on, animatic battle teams. Hold on, hold on. Happy Meatball, yes, for Meatball, exactly. But yeah, there's a few of those in a bunch of places, but then eventually they're joining teams and stuff. We get to see Lampa. I am a fan of Lampa's team. This DVD case fella, I like them. I don't know. They speak in this fun little way, so I'm definitely a fan of that as a character, and the way that they connect with the ogre bungle fella is quite cool, to be honest. So I like that. Lego Tower and Grapple being like buddies is fun. Lego Tower gives unbelievable marker vibes. I can't lie. Like even in the way that they end up being the last one in the intro, it's like, bro. Analysis board ends up running over. Analysis board just picks up the yellow fella and just drags them over. So then yellow is just there now. Like yellow is just with Lego brick and just adventuring while the other ones are moving. You know, it is a question which I obviously have to ask, is that if there's 4 or 5 of them in the analysis board, who's driving the car? Who has the legs and stuff? One of the things that maybe I find, I think, a little bit unfortunate is that the analysis board, these fellas don't seem to have two different personalities. Like the green and blue generally don't strike me as that different, and the red and orange just haven't really done anything. It's such an interesting idea to have the eyes and mind but no mouth, but like you could maybe communicate a little bit, but I don't know how they would communicate. But I think it'd be cool if the other two members could show up. Cannon eventually ends up with the exploding fellas, whatever. They just don't join a team. So Cannon ends up deciding to leave them afterwards because they just won't find a team, which, yeah, that makes perfect sense. It is pretty annoying when your team member don't want to find a team, so they end up leaving. The Juice and Walkie Talkie, they are another duo that's happening despite the half betrayal earlier. They end up hiring Comma, which, yeah, the joke with Comma is just Comma talks so slow. Every word there's a comma. Right? I adore Comma. Comma's great. It's always a gag. Artifacty can shapeshift into the characters, which is sick. They actually got Artifacty to do something sometimes. Let's go. Let's flipping go. This is a W. I absolutely also adore Film Camera and Lunchbox. Like, there's this whole, like, I don't even know. Lunchbox is just chilling there, but Film Camera is like, it's the duty, It's like this son dynamic. Like, I must take care of the child. Like, it's cool. But then Film Camera forcibly has it. So they end up with the grabber melee duo, which adds on Postcardy, because Postcardy is, a type of male. So it's the cousin. So that's cool. Eventually, they end up having, the gang, the group, ends up hiring in Heartbreaker as their last member because there really aren't that many other people left. To be honest, there were. Like, I would have tried to invite somebody like Speedcore. I think Speedcore would have been a relatively useful fella for their team, to be honest, for their group pact thing. However, they end up hiring Heartbreaker instead, which agrees to join as long as they don't kill anybody on their team, which I'm not exactly sure if that's going to be upheld, but for now, let's say sure. Let's say sure. Heartbreaker is interesting. Apparently, they got feel good juice that makes the freaking scribble. What, you look like a meteor. You look like a rock, to be honest. Then the lucky and and what were you called? You're like a book. You're like a kid's book. Pick up the do not disturb fella. Okay, so interesting about the do not disturb fella is that do they get disturbed? Like, I thought I kind of misunderstood do not disturb as a character because I thought the thing with do not disturb is that they don't want to be disturbed. But the thing about do not disturb as a character is they just end up being a character that literally does not get disturbed. Like that is the thing. They are just forever sleepers and they do not care at all. They don't speak, they don't do anything, which is interesting. Scribbles lost the face, which they had in Object Dissension, which is alright. It does make them look significantly more ominous, but fair enough. Then there's EMS, which I don't really know what's going on with them. So yeah, Screwdriver ends up joining the team here. Oh yeah, there's this fella. What were you called? You're the whole doom and gloomy, only think about death character. That was one of them. God, I'm trying to remember your name. You look like an Elastic Man. You look like Elastic Man from freaking um Object Invasion. But I don't even know what they are. Eventually, they end up joining the Grapple team. Oh yeah, Grapple ends up accidentally forming a team with Lego Break. Grapple originally wanted to suggest teaming up with freaking Grabber. However, they choose not to. Well, they don't choose not to. They're too shy to. So they end up accidentally forming a team of themselves because of Lego Brick. And then the other fellows join with Comma, Mystery Juice, and Walkie Talkie. So then TNT end up actually trying to find people for once. They end up just grabbing they end up just going to the melee team, which ends is a good idea. And then Stopwatch, which was dead because of the fact that they dared to question Izuni, ends up doing it. And then we get the team names. So what are the team names? The first team is called Dissension, which I mean, yeah, this is a thing that they do in animatic battle as well. This is a taken joke. This is a completely stolen joke. Because in animatic battles technically season 2, right? So they had a team called Object Fool in there. This also is a season 2 of Object Dissension, so we just have a team called Dissension. All right, then, fair enough. Meanwhile, the other team is P-Pap-ish, which is not the thing I was thinking they were gonna call themselves. I didn't really understand that name, to be honest, because I thought that I think that they were like in the Pap Club or something, because they're like in a pep club or something. I think, but they end up sort of being it, so it's like the Papish, but like it sounds like PPAP, pen pineapple pen. So that's the jingle for them. Then I send that team too well. Oh yeah, let me actually talk about what I think of the teams themselves. So Team Dissension is okay. This team has had, I think, the least interesting things to it yet, in my opinion, because Lucky hasn't struck me too much. One of the characters just literally doesn't exist. Stopwatch is sort of annoyed. The children's book, and the lighter are pretty, and the torchlight is pretty interesting. But Brett, I've also not seen much. I've just kind of not seen enough of this team. Like I haven't formed vibes on majority of these characters, so not much I can really say about the dimension. The Pap team, I like the Pap team. They have they have a relatively cool dynamic going on with the way that they're sort of they're collective. Whether they're collectively arguing or they're collectively actually doing something, they are a collective, which I think I think it's cool. It's fun. So I don't mind that. Then there's like cup in a bowl and stuff. No, ice in a bowl. Sorry. Then it ends up that that team. Hold on. What team did they even do? Oh yeah, the team ends up being which is one of the team names of all time. Because they TNT suggests the explosions, which fair enough. They do have Space Trip Mine and TNT on the team. Then Film Camera chooses to choose another team, and then of course Lunchbox comes in with the team, which is certainly one of the top tier teams of all time. Now, So that team is the two explosion fellas, Lunchbox and the film camera, and then Grabber and the gang, which is more like that team. It's gonna be interesting to see how that team goes, because that team, that's the type of team that usually happens when duos form together. Like Grabber and Melee and Postcard, that's a trio. Lunchbox and Film Camera, that's a duo. Um, like then Lunchbox and Film Camera, that's a duo, right? It just ends up, so Trip Mine and TNT, that's a duo, right? Like it's a duo, and a trio, which they're very interconnected between them, but between the duos themselves, there's not too much correlation. So it's going to be interesting to see if um they're going to have much to do. Then the team ends up being called a good team name because they're just trying to find a team name, anyways. So Karma wants to suggest a team name. Wait, what was the team name? No, they just don't. They just don't let them talk. Fair enough, Karma. So that team is Lego Brick. Hold on, let me go to the section where all the team names get talked about, because that would be better for me. So a good team name is, it's Karma, Analysis Board, the Death Fella, which I don't remember what they are, Lego Brick, Grapple, and the duo of Mystery Juice and thing. Okay, I like that team. I absolutely like that team because Grapple and the Lego Brick are a good duo. The Mystery Juice and Walkie Talkie immediately strike me as a fun duo. Like they're a duo, but a pretty logical characters, so I like them. Then there's the whole Death Fella, and Kama as well as a little bit as a fun character. I just like that team because I think that even though we're not there, it is another team of sort of duos. It's a team that just has a bunch of good figures in it, you know. 'Cause like Lego Brick, while maybe they've only interacted with like Grapple or Analysis Board, Lego Brick can definitely interact with whoever else, right? They can make jokes to Kama's expense. Walkie Talkie, I think, can also do that, so I don't mind that. That team's pretty solid. Then there's the squishy squad based over admiring squishy in a way. That team is the most weird, quote unquote, because we have we have we have Gerbungle, we have DVD Case, we have Squishy themselves, which are sort of this mysterious character. We have the Space Platinum block, which is this sort of, I guess, more mystical creature that it's pretty soft spoken. And then there's the EMAS, a sort of like it's a pretty chaos team except for Lampa. So it's gonna it's gonna be fun to see that team pull off the chaos that they do to get up there. So it's gonna be interesting. I just really hope that they don't do the thing of just like being a full admirer team, because that's kind of what's going on in this episode, in the challenge, right? They end up sort of being an admirer team when that's kind of not the best avenue here, you know? So, yeah. And then we have the big winners, which is decided by, who decided that? I think it was the Screwdriver. Yeah, because Screwdriver wanted to be the winners because of trophies and stuff. And then they ended up choosing to be the big winners. That team feels the most solo. Like it's a good chunk of solos, Screwdriver wasn't really attached to anybody. Cannon is really attached to anybody. Neither is the Speed Coil. Neither is the Swiffer. I think that's what you're called. I always called you a screwdriver. You're not a screw. That is not a screwdriver. um. So yeah, you end up not being it. I like how Izuni likes the names. Then we have the intro. By the way, the intro ends up being a fist bump. So that's how you activate the intro. I have no idea how we're going to be doing one of those every episode. That feels like it's pretty forced to do a fist bump, to be honest. Even in this episode, it felt kind of random. So it'll be interesting to see it, how we do. But then the challenge is basketball. So land the ball in a hoop to be safe. First of all, isn't this a BFB challenge? I swear it is. Something extremely damn similar. Hold on. um, this is like, dude, this episode. No, it's not this episode about basketball. Or is it? Yeah, it is. It is because it's basketball. Yeah, you have to throw a ball and then it drops down. It's a very similar challenge, but it's not exactly the same. This one's just straight up basketball. Get a ball into the hoop. Um, well, in that challenge, you needed to do multiple. Get recommended characters, which is pretty swag. We enjoy those. The Sun is back. Love the Sun. Sun got to be one of the best characters in the show, which is one of extremely funny. The way Sun just trolls everybody. Um, now they get an extra ball, which turns out to be very important, by the way, as an extra prize. It ends up being very important to other teams, not really to them, because like I don't know why they would need two balls, but eventually we end up starting the challenge. Now the way that the challenge is written takes about 10 minutes, which is it's a very well paced 10-minute section in my opinion. It's like it gives enough time for us to see every team and all that stuff. We get to see some teams get by super fast because they just can't. Like, and I like that there was no BS to keep a team unsafe. You know, I like the fact that that team was just went like, okay, Artifacty can fly, therefore fly into the damn hoop. Right? Like there wasn't any shenanigans about how Artifacty rejects it or whatever. Like, no, if you can just do it, you just do it. Alright? And especially as Artifacty, which is one of those characters that is known to be a just doing it style character, right? It is something that I absolutely appreciate for sure because like it's just very nice. Um However, it gives more time for us to get to know. Like when we get teams that are obviously qualifying out of the equation, it means that we just need less teams. No, like we just have less teams to deal with for the rest of the time. So we end up instead of having to focus on 7 teams and splitting between them, we only have to focus on 6 and then on 5, right? So then it just ends up going by pretty quick. We get to focus more on the teams that are going to be up for elimination because the team that's up for elimination needs the most screen time in a challenge like this because it's episode 1. We want to be able to at least give them the possibility of looking at the characters and seeing who to opinionate on, who they're going to like, who they're going to dislike, which is nice, right? There's a lot of individual scenes and jokes that I do like the way that this show is written it's very nice. The big winners end up being safe. The team with Scribbly, which by the way, does Scribbly? Oh no, you do have a face. Oh, I didn't, bro. My monitor is like not that good. Oh my god, my eyes are bad. I would fail the freaking number. I would fail the color blindness test if there was a number there. Oh, okay, there is a face. I'm sorry, but Scribbly ends up climbing somebody, and everybody goes, "Yo, let's stack," which they do, and they end up eventually being safe. So that ends up being a relatively chill way to do it. Good job to them. They're all just trying to get an extra ball because they just keep destroying it. Because Grapple tried to snatch the ball and shoot it, which would have been a good strategy, but no, instead they exploded it. Lego Brick tries to give Izuni to ask Izuni for a ball. Izuni did not give one, and instead dunked them, which made for a fun thing. You know, recreating the gifs, which is pretty fun. You know, it gives it's a more like, oh my god, it's the gif of the you know, so that's always good. Um, there was a pretty epic battle scene between Karma and uh who? Between Karma and the freaking the box and the book, the kids book. You're not a kids book. That's not the name. I'm so bad at catching names. That's one of the worst parts of the format. Is entirely just the brain just don't get in my brain. The the names don't get in my brain in time because there's so many characters. But yeah, eventually they end up doing their thing. They end up having a cool little battle, comma, which ends up snatching it and all that stuff. They end up destroying them, but somehow even with like half of them alive, half of the freaking book destroyed, end up still working out. And eventually, comma just straight up dies gets freaking lit on fire. So it happens. I like the fact that Lunchbox ends up landing on top of the hoop with the ball, needs to somehow figure out a way to throw it to get the ball in the hoop, but the thing is they don't really understand anything, so they're just not going to do much. Film cameras tried to teach him words, but apparently has only taught him that apple means eat the nearest thing that you find. So unfortunately that ball is gone. So yeah, that happens. But yeah, the team that ends up squabbling, the PAP ends up winning because Shortcake isn't part of the squabbling, so it just ends up doing it themselves. Then the other team decides to take Do Not Disturb, dunk him a bunch of times in paint juice, and eventually they end up being safe. I think Do Not Disturb was like bothered about it because I did see like their mouth move and stuff. So they're like they're living. I don't think they mind. I mean, I don't know if they minded. They would have said something, right? Because like you're called Do Not Disturb, but like you're allowing yourself to get disturbed like quite a lot, you know? Which is like I don't really understand what's going on with them. I'm gonna be honest. I don't really know what's going on with them. Hey, but Lego Brick died. When did that happen? Oh yeah, they got destroyed by Karma. Right, when getting it. So, alright. Then Essential's safe, so good job. The other TNT and Substitution to go take a big trip. Then the finding cubes, which is not a ball, unfortunately. So, then the team that sacks wins. Good job, Squishy. Freaking Brain Roddy just exists. Brain Roddy as a character, which by the way, there wasn't even there before, but now they are. Brain Roddy as a character is they're not the best type of character to have in a show like this because they are a little bit grounded in the times. And while I understand that you can have a show based in the time frame, you do, I think, gotta a little bit, right? Like a little bit, do some forward thinking into the fact that it is gonna be deep into the future one day. Right? And maybe we're still doing ODA because, you know, we've happened to make a show with a large cast. And maybe, just so maybe, it's not going to quite work itself out if Brain Roddy is still here in 2030. Right? I'm just saying. So, I do not think that it's a great character. I mean, I guess the character can evolve within the meme culture, but like, yeah, it's gonna end up being a little bit outdated eventually, which I'm not sure is a great idea. But so I'm glad that they get dunked into a hole at the end of it. Good job, Heartbreaker. Then eventually they need to get a ball. What does Grapple do? Oh yeah, Grapple tries to steal the ball from that, you know, that's chilling over on the hoop with Lunchbox. Ends up grabbing Lunchbox instead, which doesn't end up being a great plan. However, the extra ball ended up dropping in, which means that the other team wins somehow. So good job, good job, blah, blah, blah. Means a good team name ends up being up for elimination. Grapple still gets praised though, because of course Grabber was on the other team, so they end up just being like, yo, we won because of you. So that's cool. So then we have a vote to save. Now we have Lego Tower, analysis chart, tater tot. You're a tater tot, bro. That's your name. That is crazy. I can't even lie. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't eat tater tots, so I think that's why I'm so sorry. But as far I didn't have anything saying, nothing said that there was gonna be double elimination. I think, or at least, I mean, nothing said it. Maybe it will be, but nothing, I think, directly said it in the episode. At least, Izumi doesn't say it. So, if this is a single elimination format, what the hell, dude? What, 40 episodes you want to do? I'm so sorry. This is just absolutely the biggest gripe I have with shows like this because they're so good. Like in the present, they're so good, but like do some forward planning. No, like okay, if you imagine first episode 1A released a year ago, 1B released 5 months ago, and then 2 released a few days ago. Let's say that's 3 episodes a year. It's technically a bit under, but let's say it's 3 episodes a year. This show, by that logic, would actually finish in 2040. Because that's like 15 years or something. Or I think I'm doing the math if it's 2 episodes a year. But let's say 2 episodes a year, because 1A and 1B, right? It's like that would finish in like 20 years. It's a hilariously long amount of time for a show to take. If you are perfectly consistent and never go on a hiatus and never have to, I don't know, live life, right? It's like, it's just difficult for me to imagine shows like these working in the way that they work because I get it. It's amazing. Like, it's like, this is a really good episode. I really, really, really enjoyed watching it, you know? But like, with this format, it's just never gonna get far. And eventually maybe they're gonna introduce a double elimination or any type of other system, but they're gonna need to introduce it, which is immediately gonna make it more awkward and more weird, right? Like when Teapot like changes to double elimination, like it does feel a bit weird. Eventually it's fine, but like it does feel a bit weird. And it's like, I don't know. Okay, if this, maybe I'm judging this too early. Maybe I should just let it be. But I don't trust it. I'm just gonna be honest. I don't trust it. I really, really don't. The way this just seems like the type of show that's gonna last forever. The type of show that can't realistically get itself too far because it is too large of an undertaking, and somehow we're not realizing how large of an undertaking it is. And it's just like it hurts to see. So I'm absolutely gonna say it, right? Maybe ODA 2's got stuff, so I'm gonna keep my contained. I'll talk about this again in ODA 2 if everything's still the same way. But we'll discuss it then. For the meantime, who to save? Lego Tower Analysis start Tater Tot, Walkie Talkie, Mr. Shake, Comma, and Grapple Gun. Who should be since this is a vote to save, Comma's in my opinion immediately safe because I mean they got just scammed. I mean they didn't necessarily get scammed. Okay, they did a mean thing, but A, they're funny, and B, they were cool, and C, they died, which gives sympathy vote. So I think Comma is relatively chilling. Alright. Then Grapple Gun is interesting because Grapple Gun straight up just made their team lose complete. Like, just the reason why this team lost is because they didn't even have like the capability of beginning to try to challenge because they're just immediately their ball's gone. They spend half the time regaining it, and then as soon as they have and then they never do, despite Comba's best efforts, Lego Town and Comba's best efforts, right? They just try their best, and then it's ends up being a nightmare. But then Grapple Gun still manages to try to get another ball and ends up actually dunking it in the other team's hole, right? So they absolutely threw. So in a vote to eliminate, I'd be very worried for them. But this is a vote to save, so I could see people feeling bad for Grapple Gun. And also there's an interesting thing going on between Grapple Gun and Grabber. So I personally see Grapple Gun being safe here. Now, the other characters, Walkie Talkie and Mystery Shake, I just think that what they have going on is cool. I think that their duo dynamic is pretty solid. Walkie Talkie is the cooler one, but between Walkie Talkie and Mystery Shake, I could realistically see both of them saving themselves out. And then that leaves Lego Tower Analysis Chart and Tater Tot. Personally, I like Analysis Chart quite a bit. I do think there's a little bit of underutilization because this is a great concept for a character. However, you got to do more with it. And the fact that the green and blue just really don't strike me as any different is kind of unfortunate. I do like the yellow. Alright, it's connected to Lego Tower. Lego Tower is pretty fun. Funny, was included in some scenes. My got to stay. So then there's Tater Tot. Tater Tot is the deaf gloomer and all that jazz. In a vote to save, I could maybe see them. I like how. But I just realized the voting image for Tater Tot is them jumping off a cliff. Bro, what the hell? That is so crazy. But anyways, so Tater Tot is probably getting eliminated. I think I would go with Tater Tot because they've got the least going for them. Because they're not really a fan of the competition, which I think is a thing that voters are, a big deal with. Voters is the competition aspect of it. Like we're in a competition, all that stuff. Um, but then also they haven't really tried to form a connection with anybody because of being the whole doom and gloom. Gives me vibes of Blueberry in season 3. It make like that first boot because they don't really want to do a damn thing. So I mean, of course, that's contested voting, but something similar to that. The character that doesn't want to do anything usually gets out. So yeah, in general, show is quite solid. I'm gonna watch ODA 1B. No, that's just that's what I just did. I'm gonna watch ODA 2 now, which is titled Do Tap the Glass. Then we'll come back and we'll have talked about it. It is the latest episode released, 5 days ago. By now, I'm pretty hooked on the show. There's a lot of cool characters, but there's more to do. Do Tap the Glass. Let's go. Hello, I have just watched ODA 2. There's a movie playing in the background. But what did I think of that episode? Oh, that episode was excellent. That episode was so good. These episodes, they're like long, but they're warrantedly long, right? Especially because we have so many characters. It just feels like we're properly getting to see all these storylines and stuff unfold, and it's great. It's good. Like honestly, the writing of these episodes is absolutely amazing. They're doing so many things. They're doing them smartly. That is really good. Animation wise for this show, I mean, okay, the animation for this show is nothing to like write home about. Like I wouldn't necessarily go like, yes, this is one of the best animations I've ever seen, right? But like, it's just extremely clean overall. Like there's nothing to criticize about it. It's just very good all the way throughout. Which is nice when an animation is clean and it just looks pretty and there's not much to it. It's just nice, right? So that's nice. That is cool. Now let's talk about the episode. So we immediately start off with the fact that freaking the Flosser is building a recovery machine. Why is Flosser building a recovery machine? Because they want to recover people. That makes sense, right? Because Izuni either won't do it or either doesn't want to do it or just won't, they can't do it for some mysterious reason. So this recovery machine is very good at its job of doing that. So, yeah, however, Cherry Jr. is, a little bit suspicious. It's like, okay, you're building recovery machines with stuff that you have at your house. You're kind of suspicious, like you're coming in out here like this, but like, maybe there's something up your sleeve if you're able to do that because nobody else is able to do that. So what is going on? And which makes sense. However, yeah, it just kind of the whole thing. Like Flosser's like, yo, I got my thing going, you got your thing going. I don't want you going my thing, right? So that makes sense. But yeah, sometimes curiosity killed the cat is what they say, and yeah, the absolute experience to get. I'm glad that Lemon isn't following along. Lemon is one of the first few characters I have seen defeat the pushback pullback effect that object show interactions constantly have. The pushback pullback is when a character suggests something, then the other one pushes it back, but then as soon as there's any type of restraints on the pushback, they immediately pull back their statement and just go, okay. It is something that happens constantly. Hey guys, do you want to do this dumb thing? No, why would we do that? Just do it. Okay. Like that type of interaction is so unbelievably common. And here in this case, I'm proud because Lemon managed to dodge it. Lemon was like, I'm not gonna go to this house. And it was a perfect time to do a pushback, pullback, if possible. Go like, nah, come on, let's just do it. Don't you want to see what's going on? But then Lemon would just say no. Lemon said no, and I am thrilled at that. I'm absolutely thrilled at that because that means that we got good writing in the house. Good writing has entered the building, which is quite nice. Now, the prizes are ice cream cones by a grabber, so they eventually get their own. I like I like the freaking comment that Izuni makes that Grapple will enjoy the ice cream because it's made by Grabber. That is absolutely a crazy diss. So eventually it turns out that eliminated is actually like the bottom two is Walkie Talkie and Mystery Juice. So I got that off. I thought people were liking them. I thought they just gave vibes of a duo that would be relative fan favorites. I don't know what. They gave me that vibe, right? They just feel like, yo, it's a fun duo that has some cool screen time and stuff, and they're chill and they're bros and stuff. So they felt like the type of character that would get vote, which in this case, Tater Tot would get below. But I misjudged it. Tater Tot did get the lowest out of the other characters, but I did misjudge how much people would like them. And of course, I didn't also consider that it is a duo, which means that although there's people that might be fans of the duo, there is the division between them, right? Like overall, if you combine the votes of the two, you would probably get more votes than Tater Tot, but they're divided, which means that the voters of the people who like the dynamic are split in two. It turns out that Mr. Juice gets eliminated, which is the correct. I mean, is it the correct? I'm not gonna say it's correct. What am I saying? But it to me makes perfect sense. Out of the two, they were kind of the one that was more along for the ride because while Mystery Juice did come in as one of the most interesting initial debutants in Object Dissension because of the whole Mystery Juice thing, what's going on in there. However, we don't. Here in ODA, we didn't focus on that at all, which means that Mr. Juice just kind of becomes a character that is, and that's it. So they end up just being the sidekick a little bit to Walkie Talkie, especially as Walkie Talkie actually is utilizing the Walkie Talkie part of the Walkie Talkie, doing the whole like talking to the speakerphone and all that jazz, and which is pretty cool, right? So while Mr. Juice didn't have any of that going on, so out of the two, I absolutely would pick Walkie Talkie over them. So that makes sense, and it is in fact a single elimination format. So fair enough. They have a best friends forever bracelet. Goodbye. So it turns out that you get disintegrated for getting eliminated, or whatever that means. However, I mean, look, there's always the questions that I absolutely have to ask in mind. Is that you know, can't you revive them? Think about it. Can we use the recovery machine? Because like, why would the recovery machine not work? Like, what would have happened? Like, we didn't erase the character from existence in the sense that like they're literally cannot exist anymore, right? Like, we could still recover them. Like, it's not that they won't ever exist. Or whatever. I don't think Izumi has that power. Izumi can't even revive a character again. Right? So it's like, I don't think we got that power. So the recovery machine could theoretically, recover. In my opinion, I think it should. I don't know why it shouldn't. Right? Like, I don't know why the recovery machine that was built by a contestant would react to the events of the elimination in the show. Like, that feels too arbitrary, in my opinion. So, it would work. I hope one day somebody tries it and it, like, works. And it's like, oh my god, you're back. Then Izumi looks at it and goes, and then demolishes everyone. Or something like that. It could be a gag. It doesn't necessarily need to be, like, a game changer. But I think that it's an interesting little detail that I would utilize more. But either way, we keep moving, and it is, in general, Walkie Talkie ends up being pretty sad because, their friend has died, which I think makes sense, especially when your best friend is out as a first boot. Like, yeah, that makes sense. We discovered that the recovery machine does in fact work, so that's nice. We like to see recovery machines function. It actually does function really well, to be honest. So Floss ends up leaving. Now, what we're gonna do is eventually have all the teams are back, and we introduce to the channel. Well, first, the freaking button fella is paralyzed and literally cannot move. They're okay with this. I mean, they don't necessarily try to undo any of that. They just take it. They just take the hit. I'm glad that we still have the continuity on the fact that the kids book. I'm still calling them a kids book because I still didn't catch the name. I am so dumb. I'm so sorry. Is still ripped up and all that jazz. Like, we're still over there in the universe. So the challenge is the 4 balls that were originally destroyed have been come back and are now in super toughened glass that is hard to break. So challenge: break the glass and bring the ball. How when you bring them, you're safe. However you do it, doesn't matter. As long as it's there, you'll be safe. What do I think of this challenge as a challenge? A good challenge. Because yet again, it's a very team on team challenge. I feel like when you are doing these, when you are in the massive cast portion, like just so many people, you want to do this because it's like you just have to limit the amount of like just time, you know, because like there's too much on screen. We already have teams of like 6 or 7. We have teams of 7 people, right? And that's a good chunk of people that need to be useful all at once, and a lot of them aren't going to be useful. So it's already a lot. So then if you're bringing in inter-team shenanigans, it's quite tough usually when you're bringing in inter-team shenanigans, because there's just, like, imagine 7 people, a team interacts with another team. That's a potential 14 people that could potentially be included in an interaction. That's a lot of people, and it does turn confusing. So you usually have to narrow it down or do team swaps eventually, right, to have a different style of interaction. And we're on episode 2 of the show. We are about as early as you can possibly be. So yeah, the intro starts, and the intro doesn't actually require a fist bump. The intro just requires whatever is vibed in that moment, which is pretty alright. That means that it can flow naturally however it is that we're doing it. That episode doesn't have to be a forced fist bump, which I think is pretty solid. So that's all cool. Then we have the recovery machine. I'm glad the recovery machine works well at its job, to be honest. Then the challenge is, as suggested by the button, is to go ask. Well, not the challenge. The way that that team is going to solve the challenge is to go and ask Heartbreaker, from Pap, because it's a good idea. I find it interesting how Shortcake doesn't question the fact that the button's just on the floor, paralyzed, and cannot move. I think that's a little bit of an oversight, because you were just like dead half the time. How do you know that? How are you just normal with that happening and just carrying him along? But you know, they Ice in a Bowl somehow ends up down in the hole. I could not tell you how. Genuinely, I tried to figure this out. I mean, I didn't try to figure. I mean, I didn't like look back, but I was like thinking about it. I was like, did anything happen? And I don't know, to be honest. Wait. Oh, you got the run, right? Cause I zoom in, use the ice cube to create the ice cream, right? Then you got thrown in the hole. Oh my god. Okay, so they end up So they end up in the hole, the fabled hole where Brain Rot is in. So they're doing the Brain Rot quiz or whatever. So that's interesting. Eventually, Lunchbox is trying to dig, while the other team just goes like, sure, let's try that then. Let's dig a big hole and then throw it down there, and then maybe, just maybe, it will break when it drops down. It makes sense. I mean, we are talking durable glass. Durable glass is usually intended to be strong enough to withstand a fall or a hit, right? So, like, I don't think it's a smart decision, but it is. Little update on analysis notes on an analysis board is that I did last time say that I thought that green and blue were really similar. I'm gonna have to retract that statement. No, I actually see them. I actually see what's going on. Blue is more analytical. Blue is more like logical, while green is more the emotional side. Um, which means that blue is a bit ruder. Green is just a bit louder. I really want red and orange to exist. Like their eyes sometimes move around, but they're so empty. Like there's no way you can have an entire extra two people and just be completely disregard them as fake. Like surely you gotta be thinking about them sometime. You know, like there's just there's two extra people there. I want to hear about them. Who are they? Why are they? Why do they have no mouth? What's going on with them? Do they like what's happening? Do they know what's happening? What do they feel? What do they represent in the wider unit? You know, because this is a unit, right? Like that's what I want to know. These two fellas, what's going on with them? You know, I need to know. This is knowledge I would like to possess. It would be such fire. If you got to learn about them. But eventually the idea, well, Grapple tries to grapple. It doesn't really work. They try to recover Karma because, recover Karma and the other fella who died like a brick. They asked to recover Yellow. It's not really gonna work, but yeah. And eventually, the analysis board comes back to the walkie-talkie and try to discuss. Yo, we here for you. You are strong and have so much potential, which is I mean, it works yet again. Okay. I must say, the freaking like just how I said in the finale of Dissection, the inspirational, like, get up, go get 'em speeches that happen in these shows, they do give a little bit of generic vibes. I don't mind this. This one's fine. I mind the one in the finale because the one in the finale is so much more random. This one's justified, right? We're like, yeah, your friend got down, but you gotta keep moving, you know. Well, no, the one in the finale of Object Dissension was like, so you are mad that this guy locked you up in a hole, and now, no, don't worry about that though. Just keep moving, keep it moving. When it's like, no, you should be mad about that. But like, oh well. But in this case, it's like, it's okay, it's okay. Eventually, they decide, they figure out how to win, and it's an absolutely excellent idea. Use the frequency that makes glass break to break the glass. It's so good. Yes, exactly. Walkie-talkie. That's what I like to see. Challenges being solved by objects by using the advantage of the object. That's what I like to see. Exactly. I like this show's writing a lot. I like this show's writing a lot because it does that a lot, right? I don't diss I shows that don't, but I think that it's always a missed opportunity when we are in an object show and we are basically just treating it as just people, you know, the regular people that don't use any advantage. When it's like they're objects, they have their own advantages and stuff, right? We should be capable of using the objectness to your advantage, you know, in challenges and stuff where that's required. And in this case, seeing stuff like the explosion buddies explode because that's what they're supposed to do, or stuff like walkie-talkie using frequencies and talking over the walkie-talkie, like, yeah, that's good stuff, no? Like, it is cool. Anyways, Flosser wants to go check their house to see if they've got any tools that can break the glass, but nah, Cherry Jr. is not gonna let them. So then the Cannonball has an idea which they're gonna draw on pen and paper, so I guess they're gonna go do that. I forgot. Then yet again, the squiggle. Sorry, what is Hold on, I'm so yeah, Squishy, not Squiggle, sorry. Then Squishy ends up having the idea, has to speak, unfortunately. Need to pin down and force the box down Lampa's mouth so that they can destroy it from there. That is one of the ideas of all time. Does that work? Answer, I mean, it did. It was, yeah, I do agree that it wasn't maybe the best way to do that, but to be fair, that team did not have a lot of like it didn't have a lot of strength on it, which was kind of the thing. So like they couldn't do something like strength based that would destroy it, which was kind of the issue. So I see, but now I do like they could have used the platinum fella, which by the way, Space Platinum Block thing. Really like that character. That character has such a vibe to them. Like they're so chill, but they're like happy chill. Because sometimes there's like these characters that are relaxed and chill. They have this way of being like monotone and sort of passive to the world. Like, okay, like. But I like the Space Platinum because they're happy but they're still like talk relaxed and stuff. Like I like them. They're cool. That's one of my top characters, absolutely. Um, anyways, we need to yeah, can't believe that worked. I'm not even gonna lie. Lampa didn't even die. But yeah, Izumi ends up saying that they are safe. So now they are trying to. Okay, no. So hold on. What is going on here? Why? Because I'm trying to understand why is the Oh, okay, I see what's going on. So you need to get Do Not Disturb out of the ball. But the problem is that if they give Do Not Disturb to Izumi as the ball, because it was, Izumi is gonna catch on them either for this challenge or the last one. They're gonna like, hold on, you didn't actually use a ball in the last challenge. Ball. Or in this challenge, hold on, that's not a ball. You keep going. Right? So I understand what's going on. So they're trying to um do something. I don't know what they're trying to do. Because okay, I understand what the idea is. Or are they trying to No, I don't No, what is this team trying to do? I did not understand it during the episode. I genuinely didn't. Cause like, hold on. So you break the thing with Do Not Disturb in it. Okay, then what the hell's your plan? Is your plan to just not do any like why were you trying to awaken Do Not Disturb? Like did you want them to die? Was that the idea? Because if they're dead, they'll look like a ball. I don't know. What was the idea? I am so sorry. I didn't understand it. But either way, Stopwatch and the flame fella end up pulling a bit too hard and awaken them, and then they get sent away. Where did they get sent away to? I don't know. But eventually, the fella's cannonball ends up their plan and shoots and does it, executes it very well, and actually ends up working perfectly. So fair enough, cannon. That was pretty smart. They eventually hand over the ball after Cherry Jr. Artifacty is okay. I'm gonna be for real here. I'm actually not a big fan of Artifacty speaking. Well, okay, Artifact doesn't speak, but I'm not a big fan of Artifact forming a word directly, just like it appears on the screen. I don't like that because it's never happened, right? I don't like the fact that we're just adding a thing onto a character that they didn't acquire, right? It's like Artifact can never do that. Why are we doing that, right? I think it'd be cool if you could, I don't know, shapeshift them to words. That'd be cool. But like you just staying how you are and then having the words appear on the back, it just give me like you didn't do that ever, or like in the last chance, for example, you never did that. Like, and you could have, but like instead of, for example, saying yes in text, you nodded your head, which implies that you can't like just say the words. So like when you go "we're here for you" directly, it just feels like, hold on, you weren't able to do that. Why are you able to do that? Right. So I'm not a big fan of that in my personal eyes. I would rather, something different. Something different. I think it'd be great. Like, there's no way we can just have the fact that they can shapeshift into things and not have that be used as a common thing. We need that. We need more of that. What the hell? Come on. If you could turn into the words that you're saying, that'd be sick. That'd be fire emoji. I think that'd be great. So, that's absolutely what I want. But anyways, they eventually reach Heartbreaker and they decide that yeah, I can break the glass. I just need you all to die for the specific plan. Why? Why not? As a Heartbreaker would say, that's fine. I mean, look, it's Heartbreaker. Heartbreaker is gonna take advantage, right? It makes honestly perfect sense if you think about it, because like Heartbreaker's like, I'm gonna help you, but I gotta gain some of it for something from this too, right? Especially because it's like, especially when they're at the mercy of the Heartbreaker in a sense. Yeah, okay, that makes sense to me. I don't mind that at all. But the team finishes the Alliance team. No, the bull ends up finishing the team, makes the hole, drops it in. It doesn't work. It doesn't break. It's almost like the glass is durable. Then the TNT has a good idea, grabs subspace strip mine, and launches themselves down the hole. Problem is, there's two of them, and B, that causes a massive explosion, which that makes sense. The thing that it was both of them is that they caused a massive explosion. I feel like subspace trip mine maybe wasn't necessary. Oh well, okay, maybe subspace trip mine was necessary, but like I don't know if both of them were necessary. I feel like one of them just boasted the other a bit too much in this case. I mean, it did break it open, but it also was a bit too harsh. I would have probably just put the explosive there. I feel like it would have been good enough. Or just the subspace trip mine. I feel like I don't know if it'd be good enough, but the fact that the Ultra explosion managed to get it, I think a smaller explosion that's more localized as well would have worked, right? Because like the impact wouldn't change too much, right? Because the main thing is like the how far it goes. So I'm gonna say that it would have worked. So in this case, they kind of did throw. Izumi is completely unbothered. I like how Izumi's drawn. Izumi's got a good drawn to it. Eventually, Stopwatch and for torch lamp, fire torch. I call them fire torch. They have a different name. They're like, what the hell is your name? I don't remember. But eventually they wake up in like the Discord lands, and they find the freaking do not disturb there. Okay, all right. We gotta talk about this for a moment. That is the coolest thing I've ever seen. That's fire. So wait. So like they're just they're just in Discord. Like that's just what they're doing. Like and it's like in a Discord universe, and there's the freaking all of the methods for them. So there's like a sort of rude do not disturb, right? Because like it's like you don't want to mess with me. And then there's like a super like a hyperactive online. There's a there's like a sleeping idol, which is the one who happens to be do not disturb, because they're the one that well, what the sleep mostly sleeping, right? um because they're idle, they're not there. And then there's invisible, which you can be invisible, right? Which is ultra relaxed, trying to keep it on the low key, which is like, what the hell is the best thing anybody's ever invented? That's actually such a good concept, OMG. And I like their designs. I love the spiky teeth that the freaking do not disturb has. That is adorable. These fellas are adorable. That is amazing. That is really, 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 really good. Eventually, Heartbreaker decides that it's okay for Shortcake to stay alive, just so that they eventually break the glass. Comma and wakes up just traumatized from the fig. You know what I'm gonna say? Missed opportunity here again. If you think about it, Comma's names wouldn't be COMMA, would it? It would just be a comma. No? Like, yeah, no? Like, that would have been an interesting little thing that you could do. I mean, it probably is too big of a lore thing, but like, if comma's name was just a literal comma, and then you couldn't quite put it in the recovery machine because the recovery machine has letters and not a comma, so then it's like, shit, you gotta make a comma simple now, right? That would have been an interesting little thing, to be honest. I find a little bit of a missed opportunity because I would have done that. I think that'd be a cool. That'd be an interesting thing because the recovery machine, it almost works too well. We need some of it to work. Like, you can't recover yellow stick note. Like, okay, sure, but like 80% of you are still alive, right? When it's like, um, in general, it's just, yeah. But yeah, they wake up traumatized. I think they end up freaking zapping the kid's book from the other team alive anyways, just because. So they end up in the house in like the what is it? The status. Oh my god. This is the best thing. They wake up and they bring everybody, which is freaking. Oh my god. So yeah, they end up talking about it. Idol is there. Where is Idol? Yeah, you can tell Idol with the proper yellowness to it. And eventually they're like, "Yo, let's leave this place," which they end up doing. But that scene, they bring Idol away while fighting Do Not Disturb. Because, hey, where are you going? Bring us along. To be honest, I mean, I don't see why not. I wouldn't have minded. I think I think the Discord boys as contestants would have been fire, but as a one-off, they are absolutely amazing. I mean, I hope they're not a one-off. I low-key want to see more of them. Do Not Disturb might be my favorite character. Like not Do Not Disturb as in like the idol. Like Do Not Disturb the red one. Yeah, like that's just fire. I don't know. That is an incredible way to use the concept because like it's always a writing challenge. It's always a writing challenge when you specifically made a character that's supposed to not do anything. So when you like, I'm just get really satisfied for it because it's like, yes, like we have taken a character that was gonna grow stale very soon and we have just made it sick as fuck. Like it's exactly what we want. Um, and it is absolutely amazing concept. Anyways, using a saw blade machine that was created by Heartbreaker, Shortcake eventually does successfully manage to break it open. Um, and eventually they hand it in. We're gonna lobotomizing Izumi in the process, but they do end up doing that. Eventually the team in the explosion is all a little bit, scuffed up and half dead from it, but the ball is out. So yeah, eventually by just sort of doing a big what does it even do? How did they get out? Like, they just like eat them. Oh wait, oh no, I know. Wait, so it's the idea that you get out in and out of the Discord lands by disturbing idol because okay, I think that's what's going on. Because if you disturb idol, right? If you're idle on Discord, usually, which happen like if idle on Discord happens automatically, you'll usually get out of it when you log back on, right? Like when you're talking. So it's either technically in both ways, right? Where like if you're idle and then you close Discord, it'll be gone, like you'll be offline. And then if you're logging onto idle and then you send a message, you're back online. So in a way, I think both of those could be true, for getting in or out, which is yet again, it's an amazing little concept. It does give I do like that concept because it does give the possibility of people getting back in there eventually at some time. And I want to see more of the Discord board. You can't just bring in three best characters to ever exist and not show them for more than 1 minute. But like, it's absolutely, it's a really good concept. I mean, it's still gonna need to be we're still gonna need to be very careful because in general, it's like, okay, what are we gonna end up doing with the character? You know? Like, okay, we saw something cool with them, but we're still like in the real here world of ODA, right? We're still just a character doesn't move. And eventually, that's still going to get boring, even though it was hella cool here. Right, so, yeah. They eventually hand it in by spawning back, which means that they're safe, which means that the team that freaking exploded ends up being up for elimination. Blah, 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 blah. Voting ends in a week. Has it been a week? I don't think it's been a week, but, not been a week. So, if you're listening to this, I will now discuss what I think is going to happen. However, remember, you can vote to save as you will. And you can, of course, make your own choice. Be the change you want to see in the world, as I always say. If you want to see any of these characters survive, vote for them. Even if you think they're going to be ultra safe, even if you think they're not going to be safe, like, just vote for who you want, basically, right? It's not that big of a deal, right? Like, I'm going to analyze, but it's not that big of a deal. Vote for who you want to survive, all right? That look cool with you, because in general, it's like, oh, no worry, Grabber's totally safe. Well, like, if everybody thought the same as you, then nobody would vote them, right? So you still got to give the votes when it's due. Now, who's safe in this team? Grabber's probably safe. I think Grabber's got the whole thing going on, with freaking Grapple Gun. If I'm not mistaken, Grapple Gun got second in the votes last time because Karma got first. That was pretty clear. So they ended up doing that. I would predict that TNT and Subspace Trip Mine would both be probably safe because they did the sacrifice. At least TNT safe because TNT, of course, sacrificed themselves for the team, did the whole explosion and everything. So I would say that TNT's safe. Subspace Trip Mine, a little bit less so because they technically didn't volunteer for anything. TNT just grabbed them along for the ride. And they are a little bit of a meme, but I would say that they're probably safe in this case. Meanwhile, for the others, I would probably... What would I say? Well, no, I do think Grabber's safe. Grabber's probably safe, yeah. Then it's Lunchbox, Melee. Oh, yeah, there is Melee. Oh, Melee's tough. Melee probably is down there. Okay, so I do really like the dynamic that Lunchbox and Movie Camera have got going on. I think that it is just kind of cool, to be honest. However, I don't know if the other people are going to find it cool, right? Like, will the other people find the Lunchbox dynamic cool? Especially because Lunchbox didn't give them a bad idea. Okay, Lunchbox was just existing. While Grabber said, yo, it's a good idea, let's dig. But, like, I don't know. The team is named after Lunchbox. Lunchbox did kind of throw in the last challenge. But Lunchbox is cute. I think Lunchbox is safe at the very minimum. If one between Lunchbox and Movie Camera were to be eliminated, I'd expect Movie Camera. However, in my opinion, the Melee and Postcardy duo is currently more in danger. Because what has Postcardy done? What did Postcardy do? Ever. I'm sorry. Like, they kind of didn't do a thing. Which is, it's a bit disappointing, because, like, what is going on? And it's like, yeah, that's unfortunate. I think that Melee did have the friendship with Grabber, but even then we're not really doing that much. At least not in this episode. They kind of didn't interact that much. So that means that you just kind of don't do much in general, right? So in this episode, they're completely sleepers, and Postcardy is already a sleeper on top of the sleeper. So I think Postcardy is the one getting eliminated, or at least the one the most in danger. Like, absolutely. I think that's absolutely my prediction. It just seems like the one that makes the most sense to get eliminated by quite a bit. And then at the end of the scene, I don't even know if freaking Ice and the Boy is in jail. And then the character that they replaced, if I'm not mistaken, which was removed due to drama, apparently was removed due to drama. If we're bringing them back and the drama's still there, I don't... what's going on here? I don't know. I think that's a bit weird. Like, if we remove the character due to external reasons, I mean, I don't know what the external reasons are, but if we remove it due to external reasons or they're coming back, I really hope something, like, they got resolved. No, because otherwise that's, that could be a uh-oh moment, as I like to say. Would be great. And then the final thing. This is single elimination. This is single elimination. ODA 1B released 5 months ago. That means that between that episode and this episode, there was a 5-month production period. With a 42 contestant cast, roughly. I didn't count, but it was roughly that. I mean, like, we have And then, there's going to be some extra episodes, debuts and stuff. There's going to be 42 minimum episodes of this show. 42 episodes of this show at the pace of 2 a year. Do math. That is 20 years. You cannot be making a show for 20 flipping years. You just can't. It's not gonna happen. I'm so sorry. You can't make this one singular show for 20 years. Like, what are we doing? How is this even a thing? How are we getting here to this stage where we think that this cast is fine? Like, I love the show. Just look at how long it's been yapping about it. But it's set up for failure. Because you can't be doing this until 2045. It's just literally impossible. Like, things are gonna happen. There's no way. Right? Like, there just isn't a way. And it's like, it upsets me because the show's so good. But this is like, it feels like wasted effort. Because it's not ever gonna lead to a conclusion. Especially since this is, like, from a concluded season that knew how to pace itself, knew how to be small, have a small challenge, have a small cast, to this massive just copy BFB again, including its biggest mistake. It's like, how do you do this? Like, I don't know. And it's so upsetting. Like, I don't know, I just find it really upsetting. Because, like, how do you even conceptualize something like this? Like, for a show that's so smart in terms of writing, that's so smart in terms of animation and everything, that's so good, how does it make such a monumental blunder of having a show with a cast so large but a production of high quality that means it's going to take 20 years to finish, quote unquote? Explain. What the hell? And you know what? Even if you remove that and divide it by like 4, and you think it takes 1 month to make an episode of this caliber, that still means that with a perfect month by month production schedule, which is pretty much impossible to uphold, you're still taking at least 3 years to reach an episode 40. 3 years of perfect non-stop monthly episodes to get there. That is so much time for perfection, and that is the perfection. That is with no delay, no nothing. With its current pace, it ends in 2045. Genuinely, how? And we haven't introduced Double Elam in this episode, which means that we've somehow not realized. How have we not realized? Like, what the hell? It's unbelievable. I don't. It's like, I'm just baffled. I'm absolutely baffled. So much that this session is way longer. This video is so much longer than I was expecting. Entirely because I'm just baffled by this decision. And okay, last thing I'm just gonna say. Maybe it's not meant to take 40 episodes, right? Maybe we're introducing something later, right? And stuff. But, like, I'm sorry, I don't think that's the way to do it. Like, I don't like to imagine the concept that this show has 10 episodes and then some massive event that eliminates half the cast happens. That's not good. That's not good. That'd just be a massive wipeout, and it just doesn't feel right because that's not what the show is, right? That's why so many people were upset at the BFB split, right? Because BFB was never ending. But, like, the B&B split still didn't feel right because we're just wiping out half of the cast to go to another show that doesn't release for episodes for 2 years, right? And, like, it just felt weird because, like, we had so many people and now everything's wiped out. So, like, this is a pretty unrecoverable mistake. That's just how it feels. It just feels like an unrecoverable mistake in the way that it is. I trust, in a way. As far as I've seen from the writing of the show and from everything, it's a smart show. It's a very, very smart show. And I will absolutely support it because the episodes are extremely, extremely good. And I am going to put faith in this show to do something, all right, to itself. However, in the way that I currently see it, and I have to be absolutely honest as an analyst, reviewer, discussion person, this feels like a massive mistake. That's all. Let's do an outro. That is all for today's installment of Object Catchup. It ended up being a special, by quite a margin. Holy shit, we nearly hit 2 hours, where we discussed Object Dissension and ODA. It just seems like me in the evening tends to yap a lot more. I don't even know. Whenever I'm doing an episode in the evening to nighttime, I end up just talking way more. That's how like the lockdown episode, which I had to do mostly during the evening because of how many episodes there were, ended up lasting 2 hours and 40 minutes because like I could do it way shorter, but I just end up talking so much. And in this episode, which I had to start, it's currently nighttime, like absolute nighttime. It's a blur of the night. It's about to be the next day. Um, I just end up talking so much about ODA too. But you know what? If I'm passionate, I'm letting myself speak. That's what I'm saying. I'm letting myself speak if I'm passionate. Um, and have things to say. But yeah, we will be back probably with a bigger variety of shows next time. See you, because for ODA and Object Dissension Timeline, we're all caught up. Goodbye.